Hello everyone, welcome to Opimation, the fitness animator. I'm OP, senior animator in the video games industry, and this episode is a special one. I have yet another friend, a senior animator from Pixar, kind enough to give his time and really show some insight into his animation approach. And he has also worked on a short film, which you'll hear about in the podcast. True gems in here. So buckle up, get your cup of tea, and let's dive into this podcast. It's a great one. So let's dive in. So hi everyone. This is a special episode. We have a friend of mine who we went to Animation Mentor about 15, was it? 2007, 2008, isn't it? Around then, 2009.
Yeah, 2000. We started 2007, 6. We graduated 2007, I believe.
Something like that. 2008.
Yeah,
it was around. And I want to introduce you first. His name is Alli Sadagiani. Am I saying it right? Sadagiani.
Oh man, I've heard so many versions. Sadagiani, whatever you said. I take whatever Opie says. I take it.
Oh man, no man. Sorry, apologies for that, man.
No.
But just going through, like, introducing you and going through just your resume. We got you like a heavyweight, man. Right here, you've got.
Oh man.
I mean, you've got you worked with what? Embrya first, isn't it? Is that
was my company? Yeah, I started a company when I was. It's actually around that time when we were doing Animation Mentor. I started a company. I was freelancing, and then
I remember that. And then you moved on to I remember your Greed film at Animation Mentor, but the snatch shot, the dialogue one, that was brilliant.
Oh yeah.
I remember all that. You see, it leaves an impression.
Oh my god, I forgot about those.
Yeah, no. Well, you know what? Those students who have the potential to shine are the ones whose work you remember and look. And going through your resume, your CV now, then you went to. The double negative as a character animator working on Paul.
Yeah. I was in Dublin. I was in Berlin first, working on the Gruffalo with an awesome, amazing team there.
Gruffalo, the kid story.
Yeah.
Oh, my daughter loves that, man.
Oh yeah, that's
I've read it so much.
Oh yeah, no, I was there for almost a year in Berlin. Best time of my life. Met some amazing people, and then you're right. And then I got an offer in double negative. Yeah,
awesome, man. Yeah, because you did that double negative on Paul, and then character animator on Tangled, which was amazing, man. Amazing. Love that film. Then you moved on to LucasArts Industrial Light and Magic, Transformers 3, Transformers The Ride, The Avengers. Then you moved on to character animator at DreamWorks on Turbo.
Man, you've done your research.
I'm writing it all down, and then I got it all down. I researched it, and then you went to Pixar. You're senior animator at Pixar for the last 11 years. You worked on The Good Dinosaur, which my daughter absolutely loves. Inside Out, Piper, Cars 3, Incredibles 2, Toy Story 4. Head of instructor at Pixar Intern on 2017. Supervising animator on Loop, Soul, Luca. And what's just come out, which my daughter is watching as well, Win or Lose, which is it's incredible, man. Yes. Since I've had my daughter was born in 2020, I've been going through all the Pixar, all the animations again, and it's even The Good Dinosaur. It shows like how you deal with loss as well, and and she loved it. My daughter absolutely loved it. But you created some great memories. You and all the animation team. For me and my.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not just me, for sure.
But no, this is not about me. But this is more about you, man. This podcast, I just want.
It's about us.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, man. But no, I just wanted to say, even for your recommendations, when I was looking at people, what they've said about you, there's so many testimonials about you, like how you bring the best out of people, and you can be a boss or a great leader, right? A great leader brings out the best out of people, and in order to do that, you got to keep that ego to the side. So it just shows how so great at your work as an animator, and then at the same time you're bringing the best out of people around you, which I think that's a true leader, man. So that's a testament.
Man, you make me tear up, dude. That's so nice and kind of.
This is what I'm reading, man. The recommendation.
I paid them.
Back pocket. No, awesome, man. Yeah, no. So this is. I've spoke to some of my students, and they just those questions are so. I mentioned to you is they wanted to know about those things, so we can dive.
Oh, that's cool.
We'll talk. I'll let you do the talking, and I'll just ask the questions now.
Oh, anything you want.
So let's dive in. So one of the students was asking, what initially drew you to animation, and how did your journey lead you to Pixar?
Oh yeah, that's those two are super big topics, obviously. Okay, let's start with the first one, how I got into this mess. Well, I think like most creative types of, like yourself, probably, I've always been into drawing, painting, and all that, right? And I was introduced to Japanese animation when I was a kid, more so than Disney. And um, there's something about, if you look at like Japanese animation, they're just staged differently. They use the language of cinema much more, versus if you look at the Disney films, they're more like a stage play, like how they're executed. So that's why they're more suited for musicals, for example, and stage plays, versus Japanese animation. The more so told like actual live action films. So from early age, I was introduced to the world of cinema without even knowing it. And I think, yeah, and then MTV happened. Yeah, right.
MTV Base and all that.
And they had a show on MTV called Liquid TV, I believe. Do you remember that, OP? It was MTV was amazing back then. It was so experimental. It was so out there.
Yes,
It defined the whole culture, right? And it was unapologetic, which was amazing. And during these late hours, they had animation for grown-ups, and they showed stuff like Aeon Flux, the Max,
yeah.
And which was not suited for me because I was too young still, but I was fascinated by it. And so that, I started drawing those characters. I was inspired by that type of a world more so than, like I said, like Disney, all that kind of stuff. That the more adult stuff appealed more to me. And then, during the late 80s, early 90s, I was introduced to video games.
Yeah.
Right. And I got an Amiga. I don't know if any of your students or listeners know anything about that, but it was a great computer to have back then, especially if you wanted to do graphics.
The 500 or the 1200? Which one did you have?
I had a 500 first,
500,
and then I saved money and I got the 1200. Man,
there was the Commodore 64 too. With the
yes. Oh my God, my friend had that. Yeah,
I had that one.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, and so I was just, okay, I see this stuff, I see in the Japanese stuff and the animation, I see the computer stuff, the games, and how can I combine those two worlds? And then 1992, a film comes out that completely blew me away. It was Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And you're like, what is this? What is this? Whatever this is, I want to get into this world. And so that's how it kind of started, the combination of like the traditional art stuff, the drawing, and the computer things that were going on at the time. And, fast forward a bunch of years, I went to art school. I was reintroduced, I would say, because that was a time you still trying to figure out how to use this stuff, right? Because it was still early.
Yeah.
But there was something about animation more so than the technical side of things. If you're talking about like visual effects, there was something about animation that drew me into it, because I felt there's so much layers to it, and there's so much theory, and it's so much about your mindset and how you're thinking, more so than the technical abilities. I mean, technical abilities, of course, is always going to be important, but it's so much how you approach it, just your mindset to the performance. And maybe I'm a little bit of a drama, and so I liked acting, and I went to drama school, and so I think that pulled me in, I think. And then just one thing after another, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna be an actor, but for animated films. And so, yeah, 20, 30 years later, here we are.
You had that pull, isn't it? That desire.
Yeah, it comes, I think you have to, if you're an animator, I mean, you're an actor essentially, so you have to be a little bit of a thinker, I think. Yeah. And I've always been fascinated by just analyzing people, looking at people, thinking about what makes them tick, and thinking about myself and different personalities. And you get into a room, should not say this in the recording, but you get into a room, you're just like scanning everyone.
Yeah,
Right?
I know. Yeah.
And
It's
yeah, and then yes, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go on. Carry on, man. No, I don't interrupt. Carry on.
No, I didn't want to miss the question because the next question was, oh, how do you end up at Pixar, right? And that, oh man, that's, it's one of those things I think, and this probably goes with everyone, all of my friends and colleagues. If you talk to them, I think they would say the same thing. This is not one of those things that you plan for in your life. You know what I mean? It's not one of those things you have on a checklist of graduating college, getting married, have a family, work at Pixar. That's not that's not how it works.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I think the thing everyone probably have in common, anyone who works there, is at least animation, is everyone, they just worked extremely hard. I mean, extremely hard. Just poured enormous amount of hours and energy and effort, and a lot of times they probably had to like reshift their entire lives, refocus their entire lives to be as good as they could possibly be at this thing, this craft, right? And I mean, it could be anything. It could be story, it could be art or whatever it is, but you just, for whatever reason, you wanted to become, it's like someone wants to become a really good guitar player. You just do it because you love the craft of expressing yourself through this instrument. And I think that's probably what everyone have in common there, is just you just want to become as good as you possibly can get at this thing, which is animation. And then just through various circumstances in life, you just making the best out of every little opportunity. One thing has led to another, and then just opportunity has presented itself for you. And that was very much the case for me, I think.
Yeah, it's and also being at Pixar, when you are surrounded by all that talent as well, isn't it? It's gonna brush off on you too. You're gonna get better and better, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's was so humbling, just walking in those corridors. You're surrounded by this insane amount of talent. And here's the kicker. They didn't become as good at what they're doing because they thought highly of themselves, but because they thought they were not good enough. There was always someone else who was better, and someone else that inspired to be, or they constantly were students and wanted to be better at what they're doing. So when you end up there, is in many ways is just the beginning. It's not that it stops. It's just like now it's the starting point, and you just keep pushing and keep learning from all this amazing talent around you. So yeah, for sure, it's it's extremely humbling to be around all those amazing talents there.
I was going to say, checks your ego, isn't it? And then you just.
Oh yeah. I mean, you would not. I would say this: you would not have a place like that if you had an ego. It's you cannot. It's just you have to put the craft, you have to put the film, the team first above yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I experienced that when I first got my first job at Ninja Theory. The art director there said, when you graduate, you think you know everything, but you don't know nothing. But then I saw the animators there, and they were amazing, man. And it kind of humbled you. And because I started off as an environment artist, because the art director said, you're not. He humbled me. He said, look, you just graduated, not good enough. So he promised me that come in for 6 months, and I'll put you in as a junior animator, so you can work with the designer. And he did, man. He stuck to his word. I was doing placeholder animations, but that's how I got in. I didn't even start off as an animator.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's path is different, man.
Exactly, man. No, that's so great to hear how you got in, and how you're saying it wasn't planned. It's just you do the work the best you can, and it just the opportunities. You got to make the most of it, which I think is really important as well. You got to focus on yourself and really refine your craft, isn't it? And opportunities will start coming.
And I think you said something really important. Just check your ego. It's there's one thing to have a good, awesome resume and whatnot, and be, have a fantastic portfolio, but you have to be able to work in a team. I mean, soft skills is if sometimes even more important than your hard skills. So yeah,
Very
for
good
sure.
point. Very good point, man. Yeah, so that's brilliant to get into that. I mean, the other question, moving on to the other question, where where students want to ask, when you start a new project, what does your, they really want to know what your creative process is. Are there any
Yeah.
particular habits or routines you get into to get into
Yeah.
the zone?
Yeah, I mean that's different from project to project. But if you're talking about just let's talking like creative like projects on the side that is not work related, animation related, like for example, we're just talking about the film we just released. I and I'm noticing with this we can get to that later too. There's a new project I'm working on right now, and I'm noticing my process at least is I get something really rough up there, and music tends to be a very, very, very important part of my process. I personally I see a lot of things in music. Like when I listen to music, when I listen to a tune, I see images in my head.
Mm.
And so as soon as I get something really rough up there, I try to go down the rabbit hole and try to find a tune in music that fits it, just to answer as many questions to myself in terms of like, where am I going with this thematically and tone wise? Just having it as a temp, it doesn't need to stick, right? But just having some form of, so I work very much that way, and then I add stuff to it, and then you might end up somewhere else where you didn't plan. But
Interesting.
music comes very, very early into my work. Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the soundtrack, it's just the music, isn't it? It doesn't have to end up being the soundtrack, or do you think?
Yeah, um it could end up being the soundtrack, but it's always a temp for the soundtrack because music gives you so much. It gives you tempo, it gives you tone, gives you subtext, and it gives you something. If done right, it could accompany the visuals very well. And yeah, so yeah, it could end up being the at least temp for the soundtrack, like with the film we just did. I had a temp track for the whole film that I gave to our composer, but I also said, you know what, feel free to scrap all this, but at least now you know where I'm going in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
And thankfully she scrapped it and gave me something completely new, which was 1,000 times better. But at least I think it says it's a good way for communication, I think,
Yeah.
to a lot of people. Because you could interpret visuals very subjectively many times, but if you put music to it, then you kind of hone into where you're going. So I think it's a good communication tool as well between people if you're working in a team.
That's really interesting. I know animation is a bit reversed, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
in Pixar, you get the dialogue shot, then you
yeah,
animate to the timing. So that makes sense to me as well. Or as animators, it makes sense to us that the sound
yeah.
comes first. But you're right. It's like one of my animation teachers think of the timing as jazz, isn't it? It's all like improvised sometimes, isn't it? To make the scene
Yeah.
interesting. So you're
Mhm.
going pop, 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 and then instead of going pop, 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 you're going all
Yeah,
these different timings, and then it's making the scene more interesting.
for sure.
That's very good, man, to approach. I never thought of I know the dialogue shot, you get the dialogue for it, but in terms of the sound, the music and stuff, it's a good
Yeah, I
way
mean,
to
yeah.
approach. Yeah.
I mean, every project is different. If you're talking about animation specifically, not like because what I was saying was just like creative projects in general. But if you're talking about animation specifically, my process is I'm one of those people, and not everyone does this, but my process, I spent a lot of time on research, like a lot of time. At least a third of my scheduled time goes to just research.
Yeah.
Um, so that's my process when it comes to just animating characters.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the old Disney animators, because even Neddy said that as well. Like, the old animators say spend half your time planning, half your time
Mm.
animating,
Oh
but he
yeah.
was like, no, spend like you're saying 2/3, even more.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I
all
mean,
in
you
the
get,
planning, isn't it?
oh yeah. I mean, you get so much more. And again, it's a tool for communication as well, especially if you're in production and, the schedule is sometimes not kind of a crunchy or whatever. It's just a tool for good tool for communication. You answer a lot of questions for yourself,
Mm.
and you can, if you're in a team that you trust, you can present things to people, to your director or your leads, and have a conversation at least.
Yeah.
And so you can pretty early know what sticks and doesn't stick, and it's all about answering questions and communication, anyways. So.
And do you ask as many as you can on the first pass to the director, all the questions that are in
Oh
your
yeah.
everything?
Oh yeah, I come with a novel, like a worth of just.
You have to, isn't it? Clarity is key, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there's also I remember Jason Scheifer was one of my mentors, and he was
Hmm.
saying there's also an art to what the director wants, isn't it? So it's
Oh, for
asking
sure.
all those questions, or the director's vision, isn't it? So that's really important too.
I mean, it ultimately it is a director's vision. I mean, and what you're trying to do, and this all depends on a director too. Some directors are better at communicating their ideas than others,
Mm.
and so there's an art to how to ask the question depending on the director. You have to know the director. You kind of, again, you get in the room, you observe the room, you
Yeah.
listen to how the director responds to other people's questions, and then you go back and think about, okay, how do I ask this question to get the answers that I want about the specific thing, whatever that might be, right?
That's
So there's
such a
an
good
art,
point. Yeah.
yeah, there's art to asking the question too, I think.
Yeah. See that when I just recently, literally 2 days ago, I did a talk at the Creative Arts University in near Guildford. This was back in London. And one of the students asked the same question about, like communication, like you're
Hmm.
saying. And that's so important, like you're saying, coming in, observing the room, you know, seeing how other people has seen how the director is responding to other people's questions. These are very basic. They're basic skills, but they're so important. The communication skills that come into it.
Yeah,
Just think
yeah,
we're just doing art animating, but it's like a whole package, isn't it? You need to know how to communicate to get the best out of the scene, isn't it? You're
yeah.
animating. Yeah.
And I'll say, I'm not a master of that. There are some people that go in and they just right away know what the director wants and they give it to them. That has happened to me maybe like, I don't know, 3 times.
Yeah, yeah.
It's that in itself, it all depends. If you click with the director, and like you were talking about win or lose, it's one of those rare moments in my career where again, hats off to the directors because they were so transparent and good communicators, where at least I felt like, I know what Mike and Carrie, our directors, want, and most of the times. I'm not saying all the times, but it was a very, very rewarding experience to come to be able to give them stuff that they would react positively to.
Yeah, yeah,
Doesn't happen all the time, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I remember watching a behind the scenes with Carlos
mhm,
Baena,
yeah.
and the way Brad Bird was giving directions, even I understood it. It was so simple. Like, this is how I want the character to be. I try and find the shot somewhere. I remember, he was saying to Carlos, how would you feel if you were in this situation, kind of.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
broke it down so simply to what he wanted in the scene.
Yep.
And you just got it straight away. There's an art to that as well, isn't it? Like the
Oh,
directors that just.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean that you're talking about Brad Bird, who is the master of that, and he's the animator himself, which helps a lot,
Yes, yeah.
right? He knows the lingo and he knows how to tap into um, whatever it is that you, as a performer, as an actor, need to get out of the character. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. That's
yeah,
great, man.
man.
That's awesome. Yeah, so the next question, Pixar films are known for their incredible emotional depth, yeah? How can you share some examples of how you approach the animating the emotions of the characters? What's your approach to that?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, the I have to give credit to why Pixar films have an emotional depth, and these are the words you're going to hear me say a lot, I think, during this talk. There is a sincerity, there's an honesty to the characters, and that I have to credit to just great writing. The writing team are just phenomenal at a place like Pixar, and they do the heavy lifting. It's just like live action show. If you as an actor are just as good as the script that is given to you, and the director being able to elevate you to those performances that they want. So I think the same thing when you're working in animated films. The writing team, if they've done a good job specifying the characters and being honest and truthful about the choices, you as an animator, I mean, you just set up hopefully for success.
Yeah, yeah. Writers are like
Right?
the unsung heroes, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, oh, for sure. And
they're in the
so
background. Yeah.
so yeah, you're trying to when you get a shot, when you get on a project, when you go on a show, you're trying to tap into that. You're trying to understand what is the honest, truthful choice and sincere choice for this character. Who is this character? And those are the conversations that constantly, daily happens at a place like Pixar. Not only Pixar, I have to say, like the other studios that do great work, like DreamWorks, for example, right? But if you feel, I feel like if at any moment, if you watch something and you feel like something feels unique and it stands out to you, is because the team has done the homework of really trying to do the work of avoiding generic choices and really diving into just being really truthful of who these characters are.
Yeah.
What would be the most sincere and honest choice for this character in this very moment? And that's a conversation you constantly have in a room with people, with the directors, with the story artists. In a case of animated films, you have animatics, right? You have story reels they've been working on for years. And hopefully, and a lot of times there is a lot of gold and gem in there you can pick from. You can go in and see, the sensibility, where they're going with the character, why they've made those choices in the storyboards already, because they've been spending a lot of time discussing those things. And then so you just take that and you're trying to dive even deeper and come up with just sincere, unique, specific choices for those characters.
Yeah, that's right, man. Really did like we were taught like acting for animation, like even reading like Lee Strasberg or Stanislavski and all these preparing for a role. Like even actors, isn't it? Like it's like they have this method acting, right? But what is the method? It's the method that they learn, isn't it? Like Russell Crowe didn't have no formal training in acting. He said, "Oh, just it's acting, man. Figure out for yourself." But it's like, and some guy was saying, "You just destroyed 100 years of like history." Because so it's just acting, figure out. But it's crazy, like it's the method that they develop, isn't it? It's like, what is method acting? And even Jeremy Irons was saying it's the method on Actors Studio. He was saying it's the method you create. People just figure out. It's just that actors have that ability to evoke that emotion there and then when the director says it. That action.
Yeah, just tapping into. I think again, I think it comes down to understanding the character. Just understanding character. Maybe try to relate to the character, the part of the character that is within you, within us. And try to just imagine, what would I do? What would the character, not me per se, but what would the character do sincerely and honestly in this situation? That's one thing I think is cool about, if you look at, we're talking about Pixar now, we're talking, looking at the Pixar characters, if you have a lineup of put them all next to each other, there is no way, I mean, very, very rare, you can take one character and swap them.
Right.
It just doesn't work because every character is so unique and so specific to them. And if you look at a show like Win or Good Game, it was a code word for it when we were working on it. Win or Lose, sorry.
Yeah.
I was counting the other day, I was watching, there are 13 characters in that show, 8 main characters.
Yeah.
And 8 characters, which each episode is based on, is surrounding their lives, right? And there's no way you can swap them out. Like, they're so unique. Every episode, every character is so unique. And again, that's a testament to amazing writing, but also all of us actors, all those animators really trying to understand who this specific character is, what would they do in a specific scenario. So there's no way you can swap them between each other, swap bodies, and they would be, it just doesn't work.
And that's a testament to the animators that even like, I remember Ned saying, when you're animating angry, you're not animating angry. It's like you're saying you're animating what that character would be like if they were angry. With a mix of emotions. It could not just be one emotion.
No.
It could be angry and sad at the same time, or angry, and sometimes you can be calm, isn't it? And just have that anger. So there's so many mixed emotions. How do you deal with those mixed emotions though? Like from angry to sad, and is there something you just dig deep in with all the research? You just keep refining.
I mean, Yeah, that's a hard answer, a hard question to answer. A lot of it is try and error, honestly. And I think it very much is important to having a team that you trust, where you can try stuff out and show them, and be in a room where people can discuss. And hopefully you have directors who can communicate if you're way off, right? I don't think there's a straight answer to that, because every shot, every scene, every character, every scenario is so different.
Mm.
And I don't think there's a formula to that.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just you just have to go with the gut feeling as an animator, right? As an actor. Luckily, when they brief you the shot or the shots, you've got enough information about where they want to go, where you need to go with the scene and with the character. And then you just tap into that. And when you show your first pass blocking, you're hoping that at least you're 80% there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then rest of it is just like insanely smart people in the room massaging and helping each other, getting the performance that is suitable for that very moment. There's no straight answer or line for that, I don't think.
Yeah, it's such a collaborative process, isn't it?
100%,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's similar to like in games, it's like because you've got to work with designers and programmers, that's also in a way a collaborative process. But
Yep.
obviously acting is that's just another level, you're just all driving towards that one vision, hoping in the
Yeah,
daily rushes you'll
yeah,
get the, like daily.
yeah, yeah. And it's like what you were saying before, like your ego has nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
That's the really important thing. You're not there to prove yourself in that regard. You're just trying to get the best performance on the screen.
yeah, yeah,
And you have to understand that everyone in the room is trying to do the exact same thing.
yeah,
We all collectively trying to put the best performance, best film on the screen that we possibly can with the resources we have.
yeah. So do you find that as you've started to like get more experience, do you find that you're not too attached to your work as much because you know it's going to change it? Do you have that kind of thing where,
No, man.
divorcing the shot,
No, yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a hard one. You will always be attached to the shot because you pour so much time and work and sweat into it. I don't know if anyone can honestly say that they are not attached or care about their work to that degree. It just, I don't know. I don't see it. Not for me, at least.
Yeah. Well,
Me
part
and
of
my
you is in it.
friends. What's that, sorry?
Part of you is in it, isn't it? You put part of yourself in it.
Oh
So
yeah, I mean, we talk about it, me and my friends, a lot of times. Like you watch a film you worked on, whatever it is, you enjoying the film. This is great, 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 and then your shots come up on the screen. It's just the film stops. You just stop thinking about the film, and the shots are over. You're like, oh, okay, and then the film continues going. So that you associated so many memories, so much hurdle, and
yeah.
just sweat and blood and pain to getting those things on the screen. And I mean, hopefully the audience is experiencing something good and they take something well from it. But for you,
Yeah.
I mean, that's you're destroyed already.
But it's like you must see like when your scene comes how the audience reacts, and when they react the way it
Yeah.
must make you feel like, oh, that's awesome, isn't it? They made someone cry, someone happy, someone angry. That shows you done your work, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, or feel for, or like just like, oh, this is my favorite character or whatever. It's just like, oh, okay, then I think we've done our job.
The empathy, isn't it, where people
Mhm.
relate? Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So how the so how, we I mean, this next question is basically how does the collaboration work at Pixar? I think you've answered it. How
Mhm.
closely do you work together with departments like storyboarding, lighting, sound during the animation process? But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean, I guess storyboards are pretty. You obviously have that, isn't it, at the start?
yeah. One maybe interesting thing to say about that is every show is actually different.
Mm,
Um, well, there are some premises in place for how usually a film works. Every show is different depending on the values and level of transparency or how much they want to respect the theme of the film or whatever it is. So there are slight changes there. If you want to talk about, for example, something like Win or Lose, which was something very, very unique to the entire studio. We've never done anything like this before, an animated series, right? We've never done that. excuse me, which is I mean, it's like I think we were counting, it was 180 minutes. That's like I mean, it's like that's 3 hours worth of material.
Yeah.
Um,
Free
so we
features,
never,
really.
yeah, and we never done anything like that, and we had a reduced budget to do that as well. So we didn't get the full budget of a feature film. So we had to reinvent a lot of things. So the approach, like from top to bottom, the approach to that project was very different than a feature film.
Right.
Much more collaborative, much more hands-on from all of us, and a lot of people from different departments had to wear different multiple hats, which have usually traditionally maybe have given to different departments, but now they have to be consolidated into just one department. We as animators were much more hands-on, much more involved in just looking at the storyboards, coming with suggestions, and just changing things on the fly. So that show was very different, and it was a smaller crew too. Very different vibe than the feature film. So just to say, every show is different. It all depends. Yeah.
But the process is like storyboard, blocking, layout, and all that, isn't it? Then
Pretty much. Yeah,
but then the
pretty much.
contributions were a bit more here, isn't it? With like
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that must
there's
have been good, isn't it? Did you like that? Contributing more, like had a bit more control over that, like.
oh man, Win or Lose is by far my favorite project I have
No,
ever worked on, ever.
that's awesome, man, to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because normally you just get, even within games, you get a cutscene. Here's a storyboard. Do it like this. There isn't too much, really, especially with the bigger companies. There isn't too much like they're very much set on how they want it.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's cool, man. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so animation. What was the other one? The animation technology is constantly evolving. Are there any recent advancements, tools that have changed your approach to animating or your work?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't think so. That's probably not the answer. They've been disappointed by the answer, I think.
No, I get
But
that because animation principles have been the same, isn't it? It's not
exactly. I mean, you have the real-time engines right now, like Unreal or whatnot, so you get the results much faster. So that's cool, but it hasn't really changed. I mean, you get faster to where you want, maybe, but it hasn't really changed the process of how you go about it. I mean, my workflow, but that's a completely different conversation. My workflow has changed over the years, but that has nothing to do with the technology per se.
Right.
That is just, you just find different workflows. But I want to say not so much. A lot of people, like when I talk to people, talk about AI, but I'm like, it's not. This is such a.
What are your thoughts on that? Sorry, Ali. What are your thoughts on AI?
Oh man, this is a dark hole we're gonna get into.
It will never replace the actual, like, the human story, will it? It's replicating it, isn't it? Because it's not gonna. I don't know. I just think about the originality. Like, for example, that Indian student. I forgot his name. Sorry, but he basically was gonna go to the Washington Post and New York Post to report about ChatGTP. And
right, yes,
and how it's
he passed away, right?
Yeah, copyright,
allegedly,
suicide, allegedly, but
right.
But his mum, I was watching Tucker Carlson interview his mum, and she said it was no way. She obviously didn't believe it. There's something sinister going on there, because he was trying to report the copywriting issues going on.
Sure.
So I think that will be an issue, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, however you want to bend it, the copyright issue is an issue. I mean, none of this system would be around if it wasn't for scraping tons of copyrighted work. I mean, that's an issue in itself. Well, when it comes to animation, or just film, using AI in film, there are some uses for it. I can see that. But this is, as we're talking right now, this is such a precise art form. Filmmaking is such a precise art form. You can't leave things to chance. And right now, at least, maybe in 5-10 years, things are going to be different. But right now, it's very much like rolling a dice, and you get what you get. with the AI, and which is fine, and it works in some sorts, stances when you're just trying to brainstorm stuff. You just go into a library and just randomly pick books out or whatever to get some inspiration. That's cool, I think. But if you want to use it in an actual professional environment, when you're actually telling a story, because look, what we are doing, just be fair, as filmmakers, as animators, as actors, what we are doing is we are manipulating the audience. We are pushing and pulling buttons to make them feel something.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what we're doing. That's what storytelling. When someone writes a novel, they know how to structure and what to put in, how to, pace the rhythm of it. It's to make you feel something. That's what we
Story
do.
arcs and everything in it. Yeah.
That's what we do. And especially animation is such a precise art form. Like I said, you're in a room with 100 other people. You're talking about whether the eyebrow should go like a little bit up, a little bit down. I mean, that kind of precise control, at least today, you don't have with AI. And I don't see, maybe we have in a couple of years from now. But again, there are some tools I've looked at, where it's like text to movements, animation, and I can see that being useful for crowds. It's like another type of mocap. That's how I'm seeing it for that type of thing, and it can speed things up. I think it's cool. When you're talking about you're dealing with people's emotions, you're trying to take people on a journey. It's such a precise art form, and it's all an illusion. That's what's the magic about filmmaking, is people are watching this and they're not aware of the subconscious triggers that we as filmmakers push in their brains to make them feel something. I feel bad about saying it, but that's what storytelling is, right?
Yeah. You want to get out of that world, isn't it? That's what I say with my students. Like animation, even though realistic stuff in games is good to animate, I got into animation to do stylized and cartoony stuff because I wanted to get out of the realism. You want to get in. I see realism every day, but it's like it's good for reference and stuff. But then you want to push it and like create your own story, like you're saying.
I'm hoping. I mean, look, I think there are a lot of things we can get help from AI, for sure. I mean, there's so many things in your everyday work as an animator that you wish could be just automated because it's so much chores, like doing the laundry type of a thing. That 100% I would be the first one to say, please fix this so I don't have to spend my time doing this and focus on the creative stuff. So I totally can see there's a use for it, and I hope we get into that direction. But that's not where it is right now. Right now, they're trying to replace what we are making, and for me, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to an art director, and he said that he had to tell the prompter like 50 times to change something. Because as soon as you change something else in the background would come up. Whereas if he had a concept artist, you could tell him exactly, or him or her exactly where you want everything. So a lot of, I think a lot of improvements have to be made. But you're right, with the mundane tasks, admin, stuff like that, it probably will take over the mundane, every day-to-day tasks,
I mean, we spend hours trying to fix intersections in our bodies and our characters. I would gladly give that to AI.
Or the simulation team.
Yeah, I mean, just please fix this intersection. Please check, this and this. Please make sure, like that stuff. I mean, that is some mundane and not so creative work. I gladly have an AI tool fix that stuff for us.
I agree, man.
Yeah,
the little waiting issues and stuff. But what's one piece of advice you would give inspiring animators that are breaking into industry today? With everything going on, we had massive layoffs last year, isn't it? I think the record ones in gaming, like over 11,000, 10,000.
Yeah.
But just starting off, like because you see this great work, and how did you feel when you saw that great work? How did you refine and focus on you to be the best you are now?
I mean, I don't think I'm still the best, but
or the best you can be at this moment.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one, especially given the circumstances today. It's just heartening for sure. But I don't know if this still stands. What I used to, before all this mess, I used to tell my students, people were asking, here's what I was getting a lot of times. The first question they ask is like, how do I get a job at Pixar? And I'm hoping what I'm about to say still stands, given the circumstances. But I think that type of mentality, that kind of mindset, and that question, it's a kind of a wrong way of approaching the whole thing. Like what we're talking about earlier, like no one, very few people plan to end up at their dream job, whatever that might be, Pixar, DreamWorks, Santa Monica Studios, whatever it is. What I think is more important, and what you see so many people have in common when you actually end up working at whatever job that is that you admire, is people love the craft, whatever that is. Storyboarding, art, viz dev, animation. You love the craft. And I think it's important to just focus on trying to be as good in that craft because you love the craft.
Yeah.
And it will hopefully lead to jobs, of course. But breaking into in the industry, I think, look, if you are getting paid for what you're doing, you have already broken into the industry. Like, you are a professional. Now it's a matter of getting better at what you're doing so you can charge more, or getting on more complex and complicated and challenging projects and work with more talented people. But that comes just like grinding and just working hard on your craft. I hope the same thing is true today. I don't know. I mean, none of us knows where we're going to go with all this. What's happening. I do still think it's important to be creative and create stuff. I mean, I myself right now, I have this book next to me. I'm trying to adapt this book into an animated series, and I'm doing it not because I'm doing it despite everything going on. I'm doing it because deep inside, this is what I love doing, man. Like, I don't know what else I would do if I wasn't doing this. I'm being very honest with you right now. I don't know who I would be, what I would be doing if I wasn't doing this. I don't have a clue. I think I would be lost.
It shows in your work as well, like you love it.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think advice to students is just you ask yourself whatever it is that you've gotten yourself into, whether it's character design, if it's viz dev, animation, ask yourself why you're doing this. If you're doing it for the money, you better get out because there is no money. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to be poor on the street. You're going to make okay money, but if money is your thing, get out before it's too late. Because this is not a moneymaker's game, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's the art, the love of a lot of art is like that, isn't it? You got to do it for the love,
Yeah.
But it's great advice, it makes sense because a lot of people say, if you love what you do, don't worry, the money will come as well, isn't it? And even if it doesn't, you're doing it for the love, and
it's hard. And it's hard to say because at the end of the day, you got to eat. So you're hoping that you can make a living off what you love doing.
Yeah.
And it's hard to give such advice in harsh times right now, but I myself, I don't know what else to do, man. Like that's what I'm doing right now. So
exactly. It's all we know, isn't it? That's the thing. And I remember a comment on LinkedIn. Someone said something about, if you're struggling, find a job you hate doing to make money, you don't like doing to make money, so that you can work on the stuff you will love, and then make money from that later on, So that's another way of looking at it. Just, I guess my cousin just graduated from Staffordshire Uni. He can't get a job at the moment, but he's working in a local supermarket. I said, look, it doesn't matter. You make your money. When you go home, just work on your showreel. That's what I did when I graduated. 9 months I didn't get a job. I worked free in London at the post-production houses with Frame Store and all those, as a runner. I just got my master's and I'm right. And my mate said,
Yep.
well, why you
Yeah.
want to go as a runner? That's low point. I go, well, in this industry, it's not about the degree, it's about the talent and connections and the work you show, isn't it? So,
Mhm.
and then I did it that way. So, don't think like, oh, I haven't got a job straight away. Still get any type of job and just hone in on your craft in your spare time
Yeah.
and send the demo reels out, get feedback, obviously critical feedback from experienced
Uh,
people.
yeah. That's one thing I've noticed too with I don't know if it's a generational thing or not, but I've seen a lot of impatience with younger people, with students. They want to get to that job, that dream position, like next year or next month, and that is not how it works.
Mm,
That is just not reality. And um, you have it's just life. Things just
mm,
take time, and you have to be good at what you're doing, and that just requires time. Another thing I say to people is like, you know, don't have like, oh, if I don't get the work at Pixar or DreamWorks, whatever, then I'm, that's what I have to do because otherwise I don't, I don't have any goal, in my life. And I think that's another wrong way of doing it. And what happens if the studio closes down tomorrow,
mm. Yeah, yeah.
right? You know,
Exactly. You don't know. No,
you
I
keep,
I agree with you. Yeah, it's inspiring to, just aim to do your work and just go through go through the studios one by one, and keep trying to get better and better, isn't it? And then get your took me a while to get a senior position, but
Mhm.
I was at Lego for like 11 years, but
Oh,
then
cool.
I realized that I got to leave here
Mm,
get to make progress, and a lot of my friends ended up leaving as well because none of us were making
you're right.
progress. But then companies are different too, sometimes you have to wait a long time before you get promoted. And then I was getting senior roles. I said, I'm leaving now. Then you just realize you got to move on, and then you realize, then you start developing more. Then I started managing outsourcing
Yep.
companies and this and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It takes time. Time is quality, isn't it? You have to be patient. And I
100%.
think, with social media these days, it's that attention span, isn't it? That TikTok, everything is it's making us. There's a great book called The Anxious Generation, and it's talking about our youngsters who are glued to the screens, and our attention spans. We don't even like reading books anymore, and like it's really sad the way society is kind of going,
Mm,
especially in the West in terms of the
yeah.
social media. So a lot of the students, like my teachers, the teachers at school, they're trying to. A lot of teachers are opting out of giving tablets to kids. They want to teach them
Right.
the traditional way, books,
Right.
reading, writing, and drawing.
Right.
Even with my daughter, I try to draw a lot with her and try not to. She never has the devices. Only like TV for a little while, an hour.
Mhm.
If I watch like win or lose with her and stuff like that. But otherwise, we try to draw and do a lot of creative. Kids are naturally creative. When you look at
Yeah.
anything, and they're always in the present. They're
Yep.
not worried about the future or the past. And as adults, you can learn a lot. I mean, I'm worried about the next, I don't know, the next paycheck or something coming in, but she's like, it's free. So we can learn a lot from kids as well. So it's
Yeah.
just
And
grounding.
this goes a little bit back to what you were asking about AI. And I think that essentially is what AI is doing, is just trying to give us the end result now super faster through a
Mm,
prompt. And a while ago, I was watching this video by this artist who was just talking about the concerns about AI. And I think it's such a great just metaphor, and I'll just to use an example. It's like you start a game, you start a video game,
mm,
and you get two questions. Do you actually want to play the game through, or you want to jump to the ending, right? And I
yeah,
feel like this is, if we're not careful with the tools that we have today with AI, we jump into the ending
yeah,
without understanding how important the it sounds going to sound corny and cliche, but not understanding why it's important to do that journey. Um, and so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's
yeah,
hard. It's hard to talk to, or just to convince the younger students that you have to have patience when the whole entire world is being they're being promoted for not being patient.
yeah.
So
Speeding up, kind of, isn't it? But
yeah.
going back to what you're saying about you're right. It's that journey. It's the process, isn't it? That's the fun part. The process. Putting those preliminary ideas. Sorry, I can't speak properly. But get those first ideas down, and watching the idea grow. I think that's the fun part, and then you're get into that final scene or shot.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine how many boss battles you have to get through to get to the ending of the game. It's supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
Art is supposed to be hard. Writing is supposed to be hard. Animating is supposed to be hard. Making music, honestly, is supposed to be hard. That's the whole point. It's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah. You need that adversity. It strengthens you, doesn't it?
And you get to the truth. I think that's what it is. You get to the truth.
No, I completely agree. I agree with that, man. That's a whole podcast.
That's a part two.
But going on to Pixar, like Pixar films often have like a hidden Easter egg or callbacks. Have you contributed to a personal touch, a subtle touch in projects which people might not have noticed, man?
I actually have, but this might be a bit of a spoiler. I don't know if I should. I don't even know if our team knows about it. Someone has to know about this. Okay, this is so if you haven't watched, have you watched Win or Lose? Oh, but you have watched it.
Only the first episode, but
okay.
One by one with my daughter at the moment. But yeah, she switches to other shows as well, so
yeah,
it depends on her mood.
Well, okay. Spoiler alert! You asked for it. I'm going to say in episode 2, there is this character that I animated, Francis the janitor. Yeah. One of my favorite characters that I've ever animated. Yeah. He is advising the main character, Frank, to get on a dating app. I'm trying to give you context without spoiling too much.
Yeah, no, fine.
And within this dating app, it takes place in a virtual world. Yeah. If you matchmaking is successful, you reach to kind of a castle. There's a scene where Francis is trying to encourage Frank to get on this dating app, and next to him there is this cleaning kind of a what do you call it, like a basket with the tools hanging off of it. One of the pockets, the castle is actually inside that pocket if you look very closely.
Okay. I'll have a look, man.
Yeah, it's very dark.
Sure a lot of animators do that. Like in Lion King, I think there was some done there, isn't it? And there's so many with the clouds of dust or something turning into words or something like that. There was something.
Yeah.
Sure, they'd.
I don't even think my team knows about this. So.
Yeah, because when I was working at Ninja Theory, and Alex, he's a great artist. He actually won an Emmy for Star Wars at Nickelodeon.
Cool.
Alex Tiny, his name is, and I remember we were just starting off in our careers, and he called me over to his office. He goes, "Opi, come here." He was from Italy, and he was doing like concept art for advertising the game Heavenly Sword. We were working at the time.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Have a look at the sword." And I was having a look. I was going, "What?" He goes, "Can you see it?" I go, "No." And just he made the opacity so low, but you could just about see his face on the sword.
Oh, that's funny.
I go, "They're going to use that for advertising."
That's amazing.
Goes, I could see his face, his nose, but it was funny, man. It was like it was all a laugh in it. But that's great to know that you contributed to some kind of subtle, Ali's touch in that TV show. But so what is the biggest challenge you faced, like in your animation shot that you've and how did you overcome that?
Oh man, I think we're gonna get deep again. I think I think the biggest challenges I've had when I think about them, I think that it's me. me getting in my own head, because this is a very hard art form. It's not for the faint of heart, and especially in an environment when you are working with so many talented people. I think everyone at some point hit a wall for whatever reason. And I think those are the biggest challenges, to trying to overcome those hurdles, and just pushing it, pressing the reset button, observing it from outside, reset, and coming back again, and trying to do the best you can. I think, because when I'm thinking about the hardest time that I've had, is not so much to do with that shot was hard. I mean, of course, all shots are hard, or was it too technically challenging, or this or that. That's true too. but you just get through that work. It's not like you just do it. But I think the most difficult part has, for me at least, has been just like when you, for whatever reason, you get in your own way and just dealing with that, I think.
You mean like in getting in your own way in terms of the attachments you have to the shot and trying to break from that?
Yeah, it could be anything. I mean, like we said, as animators, actors, you go very deep into the role and the characters, and maybe you giving the director something that they don't want to connect with, right? Or you just the shot just not feeling it, you're just not landing or whatever it is. And a lot of times is and that, plays a lot into like your confidence. You start to question yourself, and the imposter syndrome, as all artists have, right? And so that, I mean, everyone goes through that. That's just the truth, and they deal with it in their own way. And I think so. When I think about the most challenging times I've had in my career, mostly it's been because of that. That for whatever reason, I was not able to. My confidence was low. Something had happened. It could be you're in a different state of mind, just like privately, or something had happened in your life, or again, like the vibe of the team is kind of off, and you're not feeling it, and so. But then, I mean, the way to get through that, you just have to step back, look at things objectively, just maybe talk to someone, because everyone has gone through it, see how everyone else like is navigating, and just get at it again with completely fresh start. Yeah.
I think talking is very important as well, because then you kind of alienate yourself as well, isn't it? Like you think it's just happening to you.
Oh yes,
But
thank
you're
you.
right. Yeah, it is. It's nice. It's not. I guess it's quite relieving for students to hear that a senior animator at Pixar feels like that. I guess a lot of them would, but I feel so much better now. No, but I've had that. I've had moments where sometimes I think, am I actually good? Or am I winging this? Have I been winging this for the last 20 years, or am I actually a good animator? Or I always think, but you never think like that of yourself as artists, as animators. You're the biggest critic, as they say, isn't it? You're never good enough,
Yeah.
And I guess the best feedback is when directors approve your shots and say, and that's always a big, like, that's better than a raise almost, isn't it? That someone's tapping you on your back and saying you did a good job is better than giving you extra money. I'd rather have a raise. I mean, a tap on the back saying you did good.
No, 100%. No, it's everyone going through that, and everyone deals with it differently. Some people have just a breeze on a show. They're just like, shoo, other people, and you talk to them, you're like, no, this is great. And you're like, really? Because I'm really struggling, so people can have very different experiences on the show. So that's real. That's very real. And it's, unfortunately, I have to say, it will never go away. That's just how it is.
We're fighting our demons till the journey ends. I know, man. But I know and we can wrap up with just a look into the future, man. What excites you most about animation? We're both with Pixar and beyond. How do you think everything's going like?
I think what I'm excited about, I know it's kind of a hard times right now to looking at all the layoffs and whatnot, but what I'm hopeful for, and I've seen a few instances of it, is that we are seeing a birth of something new, something different. Because I myself, we talked earlier, I grew up with independent weird animation on MTV, Liquid TV with Aeon Flux and all that kind of stuff. And I'm hoping this is a start of a new era where we see a lot more independent work, a lot of more diverse work, a lot of more work, quality work targeted towards a more adult grown-up audience. We've seen things like Scavenger's Reign. I don't know if you've seen that show.
I haven't seen that yet. No.
Oh my God. Absolutely beautiful. Scavenger's Reign, please. And Blue-Eyed Samurai, another one.
Blue-Eyed.
I mean,
Arcane.
And there's yes, so there's I think I'm looking forward to, and that's why I'm adapting this book into, like, it's a sci-fi book. It's a Swedish sci-fi book
Yeah.
I'm trying to adapt into animated series for adults, and I'm seeing and I'm hoping that something new and fresh comes out of the mess that we are in right now as an industry, where we can make more independent work that taps into different type of themes and topics that are made for you and me. There's just not trying to please everyone. I think we have the big studios doing that, and that's great. But I think there's a whole vacuum, at least in the West, not so much in Japan, and France is doing great too. But there is, I think, a huge vacuum of trying to tap into quality work for a little older audience, I think.
No, that's brilliant, because that's like you got Kickstarter crowdfunding now that can help with that, and a GoFundMe. But I think you're right, with all these layoffs going on. I think the future, students have asked me this question when I give some talks. They're like, I think the future will be more like you're saying, community, content creation. Having more channels on YouTube, documenting your work. It's like it's more community based. Where you're building that little group for yourself. Even like it could be a little Facebook group, and you have a little community in there, and you're posting on there. And I'm trying to do that with my YouTube channel too, trying to create a community there, and at least give back, teach, stuff like that.
And wouldn't it be amazing if we can start some form of production or some show where all of us artists are actually stakeholders in the project, right? Versus what has happened now that has led to all these layoffs, is if we can actually create something, we as artists get rewarded from the success of the films.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's just trying to get that financial freedom to do your art, isn't it? It's not so much the money, it's the time we want back, because if we look now, what are we doing? We're trading our time for someone else's dream, right? So it's all about, and you're not asking for a lot of money, just enough to work on your art and pay your bills and all that, isn't it?
Yes.
And have that freedom back.
Yeah.
So that's such great thoughts. The podcast, man. Some of your thoughts and everything. I'm sure a lot of people are going to learn so much with the tips and how you approach your shots, and just in general, like you're talking about communication and just those basic skills that we need. And I just think it's just an honor, man, to have you on it. Same with
it's my
Eddie.
honor.
My first two podcasts are with both senior animators from Pixar, so I couldn't ask, and I'm very grateful, man.
I'm likewise. I'm extremely grateful. And that's the beauty about this, I think, industry is like, look at us, like 15 years later, we're sitting here. Like, I mean, I'm just so thankful for this, just to sitting here and chat and talk. And so thanks, man. Thanks for setting this up. Yeah.
We were at that party in LA, remember?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I remember, and Ali said to me, you're my Punjabi brother, innit? No, I remember that was a good party, man. But awesome. No, you know what? Good luck with everything. And you know what? Let's do this again. You're so generous with your time. You didn't have to do this, man. And
of course, no. Anything I can do to help, because I know, especially now, it's kind of a tough times. But yeah, it's anytime. I'm just happy. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck with everything, and I hope the students will see your film soon. You're giving it out to, or is it all the film festivals you're doing at the moment?
Oh, right. Yeah. So we are on a festival.
Talk a bit about yours, and also socials where people can reach you and everything and all that stuff.
Sure.
I'll put it up anyway, but
thanks for doing that, because I'm horrible on that stuff. But this is a film. We just worked on it for 4 years. We just released it end of last year. We're doing the festival tour right now. The film is called The View. It's very different. I mean, you've seen it, Opie.
Great film. Sorry you can't watch it yet, man, but it's private viewing is great. I connected to it a lot,
Oh, thanks for saying that.
And I've got notes here, by the way, about when I was watching it.
Yes.
2 pages full of it.
Yeah. So we're doing the festival tour right now. I'm going to be in Ireland next week on a film festival called Animation Dingle. And we're touring and showing the film. I'm thinking that the touring stops sometime end of this year.
Right.
And that's around that time I think we can release it to the public. And yeah, we're just excited about that. You know, like we said, like it's the most exciting part of it is like we were talking about earlier before you press record was I made this film because I think there's people like myself and yourself who's experienced a life that I think is not talked about so much. Growing up in a society with immigrant parents and the kind of the absurdity of navigating that world was a topic that was somewhat therapeutic for me to kind of dive into. But as I was developing and writing the film, when I talked to more friends and other they would just they had the same experience, I'm like, okay, so my journey was inspired by their journey as well, and yeah, and that's what we're doing right now. Like I said, I'm trying to adapt this book into an animated series for adults. I've wrote the first draft of the pilot episode, and I'm doing the teaser trailer right now. And we're hoping to get a conversation with the author sometime later this spring to see where we at. And
Wow, awesome, man.
yeah,
How's the funding for that? Is that like how do you go about that? Is that
yeah, we'll see.
oh right, you got to reach out for that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. First, we have to
Well,
kind
good
of
luck
put.
with that, man.
Thank you. First, we have to put together some of a pitch, and then if we get the rights, we shop around and see what happens.
It's like games.
Regarding what's that? Sorry.
I say it's like games. You do the demo pitch,
Yeah.
get the investors.
And it's a completely new world to me, so we'll see. We'll see, how it goes. But it's exciting. It's super exciting.
No, I wish you all good positive energy with that, man. I'll try and put that over.
Thank
Awesome,
you.
man. And I'll put all your socials on there. I mean, you can do shout outs to your socials now if you want, but I'll put them all on there as well.
Sure. The film is called The View, and The View Film is the handle if you want to connect it on Instagram. Theviewfilm.com is the website. And I think, yeah, that should do it. I mean, my name is Ali, and you're probably going to link to that and all that. But
I'll do all that. I'll put all of Ali's stuff on. Don't worry. I'm going to put all the contacts on there.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Follow, okay, and support.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome,
Yeah,
Ali.
man.
Well, nice. We'll do this again. I'll leave you.
Anytime.
We'll do this again. Yeah, it's been great. It's been a pleasure, mate.
My pleasure, man.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
See you. Bye bye.